The silk duvet was cool and blue like the Atlantic at dawn. Mara did not mean to touch it. She did not mean to lie down. She only meant to fold it neatly after changing the sheets, the way Mrs. Gloria the housekeeper had taught her. But Mara had washed windows since sunrise, scrubbed marble floors that stretched like a football field, and ironed shirts until the steam iron hissed like a tired snake. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were burning. She sat for 1 second at the edge of the bed to rest her back. That 1 second stole her. When Ethan Cole, the young billionaire who owned the mighty mansion, opened his bedroom door with 3 investors behind him, they saw Mara, small, dark-skinned, with neat cornrows tucked under a scarf, fast asleep in his bed, curled like a child, holding a corner of the duvet the way poor people hold warmth. The investors stopped. One of them gasped. Another raised a phone, the screen lighting his shocked face. A security guard shouted, "Sir, there's a girl on your bed." Mara's eyes flew open. For one long heartbeat the room was a drum. Her mind was slow, like a heavy clock in a quiet church. Then she saw Mr. Ethan's shape in the doorway, tall in a navy suit, and the men behind him. She jumped up in fear. The blue duvet fell. The guard stepped forward. The investor's phone camera blinked red. Mara whispered, "I am so sorry, sir, I did not mean." Her voice broke. Ethan lifted a hand. "No one touch her," he said. His voice was calm but firm. He pulled off his suit jacket and gave it to Mara to cover herself because her work blouse had a bleach stain and a missing button. The investors stared, their long faces tight. In the hall, footsteps and whispers grew like a rising storm. Someone, no one knew who, snapped a photo and sent it. The tiny click was louder than thunder. The phone in Ethan's pocket started to buzz. Over and over. He looked at the screen. His eyes changed. Then he looked back at Mara. He said only one word, "Oh." What had he just seen on his phone? Who sent it? And how much trouble was Mara in now? Before that photo, before the blue duvet, before the whisper that would become a shout across the city, Mara's life was simple and hard. She was 20 years old but looked younger because tiredness made her small. She had a bright smile that she saved for other people and a quiet face that she kept for herself. She came from a small compound across town, a place where chickens walked like they owned the road and children played football with a plastic bottle. Her father had left when she was little. Her mother, Ruth, sold oranges by the bus stop and sometimes coughed so much she had to sit down and drink water with salt. Mara loved her mother like the sky loves the sun. When the job at the big mansion came, it felt like a door opening by itself. A woman from a cleaning agency came to the market and told Ruth, "Your daughter is fast with her hands. A bachelor in the rich part of town needs extra help. The pay is good. The house is very big." Ruth's eyes filled with hope and fear. "Will they treat her kindly?" she asked. The agency woman shrugged. "He is a busy man. He minds his business. The housekeeper is strict." Ruth squeezed Mara's fingers and prayed. On Mara's first day, the gates opened like the beginning of a story. The mansion was white and wide, with tall glass and tall palms that touched the sky. Marble shone. Gold frames smiled from the walls. The swimming pool lay blue and quiet as if holding its breath. The floors were so clean that Mara walked like a dancer, afraid to leave a mark. Mrs. Gloria, the housekeeper, gave Mara a list of chores that ran 2 pages long. "We do not fail in this house," she said. "We do not sit. We do not chat. We do not ask for favors. We do the work." Mara said, "Yes, Ma." She meant it. The other staff were a small army, 2 cooks, a gardener, a driver, 2 security men, and a laundry boy named Sam who was 19 and always humming. There was also Ms. Linda, Mr. Ethan's aunt, who did not live in the mansion but came every week to check things. Ms. Linda wore stiff perfume and a stern mouth. She said she wanted the best for her nephew, but her eyes counted people like coins. For weeks, Mara worked like a river, always moving, always carrying, always clearing. She woke before the sun, she slept after it was gone. She polished trophies in the game room. She wiped glass in the hallway until the world looked new. She learned the names of imported towels and which plates were for guests and which plates were for real executives. She learned the maps of the rooms by heart. And even when she was tired, she hummed the worship songs her mother loved. She only saw Mr. Ethan sometimes in small ways. He passed through the kitchen once at midnight, hungry from work, and smiled when he took cold jell-off from the fridge. "Good food," he said to the cook. "Thank you." Another time, he helped the gardener lift a heavy bag of soil without a word. He said good morning like he meant it. That alone made Mara less afraid of the huge walls. Once Mara was cleaning the library and the ladder wobbled. She grabbed the shelf, and a book fell open on the carpet. a children's book with pictures of a boy who grows a garden. She wanted to read just one page, but Mrs. Gloria cleared her throat behind her, and Mara closed the book so fast it hurt. "Work now," Mrs. Gloria said, but her voice was softer that day. She knew Mara was trying. The less extreme things in Mara's life were small but sweet. One afternoon, the cook wrapped 2 meat pies in a napkin and gave them to Mara with a wink. Another time, the driver showed Mara how to oil a squeaky door so it stops crying. Sam, the laundry boy, taught Mara a trick with lemon juice to erase a tea stain. These tiny kind things were like candles in the big house. They did not win battles, but they kept the dark from yelling. Not everyone was kind. Ms. Linda watched Mara with eyes like cold buttons. "Why are you always around?" she asked one day, though Mara was literally working. "Do your job and keep your head down." Mara nodded. She kept her head so far down that she could see the dust before it knew it was dust. Meanwhile, Ethan worked like a storm. He ran a tech and real estate company that built smart apartments for the city. People said he was rich because he was clever, and he stayed rich because he was careful. They said he was a bachelor by choice, and that choice made many aunties restless. He had a heart for charity, but he hated when people made a show of it. He hated noise, loved early mornings, and trusted only a little. The staff respected him because he respected them. He never shouted, but when he was unhappy, the quiet in the house went heavy. The day everything changed began before sunrise. Mara's mother had coughed all night, and Mara had gone home after her shift to rub her mother's back and boil ginger. She kissed her mother's forehead and promised she would bring money for medicine. Then she took 2 buses back to the mansion and started her chores. She drank water. She kept moving. She kept moving until her legs forgot they were legs. By late afternoon, Mrs. Gloria said, "Mara, the top floor sheets must be changed again. The investor from New York is visiting. Mr. Ethan will bring him upstairs briefly before the meeting." Mara took a deep breath. "Yes, Ma." She climbed the stairs with fresh sheets that smelled like clean rain. On the top floor, the master bedroom was a world. Big windows, soft rugs, a bed that looked like a boat. She breathed in, set down the sheets, and began the careful dance of tucking and smoothing. The sun poured warm light through the blinds. The room hummed with quiet. Mara finished the first corner and moved to the second. Her hands slowed. The humming in her head grew louder than the room. She sat just for a second. Sleep took her like the tide. Downstairs, Ethan was not supposed to return to his room. But the investor asked to see a certain painting on the landing, and then another insisted he wanted to get a feel for your lifestyle, which rich men sometimes say when they are deciding where to put their money. Ethan hated it, but money loves pride, so he led them upstairs. He wanted to pick up a sealed envelope from his dresser too, a set of access cards he had forgotten. The hallway was quiet. The security man followed at a polite distance. When Ethan opened the door and saw Mara on his bed, the deepest part of him, the part that knew struggle, saw only a girl who worked too hard and needed mercy. But he also saw the reality: 3 investors stiff with surprise, a guard who wanted to prove himself, the hungry mouth of the internet. Ethan's first move was to protect her. He took off his jacket and covered her. He told the guard to stand down. He told the investors, "My staff are human. She must have been exhausted. This is not a scandal. Give me a minute." His voice was steady, but he could feel a river forming around them. In that same second, Ms. Linda appeared like a shadow shaped into a person. She had been upstairs, checking flower arrangements. Her eyes flashed like knives. "What is this?" she cried. She pulled out her phone with the speed of a snake and, before anyone could blink, took a picture. "Evidence," she said quietly to herself, the word dripping with salt. Ethan turned on her. "Delete that, Aunt Linda." It was the first time he had used her name with steel in it. Ms. Linda smiled like glass. "I manage your image," she said. "Someone must be serious." But it was already too late. Somewhere in the hall, another staff member had already sent a photo to a cousin, who sent it to a friend, who posted it without thinking. Like sparks in dry grass, it ran. Ethan's phone buzzed like a trapped bee. A text from his head of PR: "Photo of girl on your bed circulating. Caption says, billionaire bachelor caught with help. Board meeting in 2 hours. Need statement now." Another message: "Investors uneasy." Another: "A gossip page tagged you." Mara stood shaking, both hands on Ethan's jacket, the sleeves too long for her. "Sir, please. I'm sorry. I did not mean to bring shame," she whispered. Ethan looked at her. He saw her cracked thumbnail, the thinness of her wrists, the courage in her trying to stand straight. He looked at the men behind him who had never washed a floor. He knew in his bones what he had to do: tell the truth and cover the weak. But truth is simple, Optics or not. He said softly, Mara, breathe. You did not do a bad thing. You fell asleep because you are human. No one will hurt you. Miss Linda hissed. Not hurt her? She slept in your bed. Do you think people are foolish? Fire her now. Post a firm statement. Protect your name. Ethan answered, My name is not made of glass. Downstairs, the cooks pretended to chop onions but listened with both ears. Sam the laundry boy stood at the bottom of the stairs, hands twisting. The driver sent a message to his church group to pray. The house itself felt like it was waiting to see what kind of story it would become. Mara, wrapped in the jacket, said again, Please? I need this job. My mother is sick. I will take any punishment. I am so sorry. Those words were simple, but they were a knife in Ethan's chest. He remembered nights when he had slept under his desk at the start of his company because rent was high and hope was thin. He remembered the taste of cheap noodles and the sound of the cleaning lady's broom outside his office at 3 a.m. He remembered promising himself that if he ever became the man people asked for things, he would be the man who gave mercy before judgment. He took a breath and nodded. Go downstairs with Mrs. Gloria, he said to Mara. Drink water. Sit. I will handle this. Mrs. Gloria appeared, her strict face softer than usual. She placed a careful hand on Mara's shoulder. Come, she said. Head down. She led Mara away like a mother bird. Ethan turned to the investors. Gentlemen, let's move to the study. You will have my statement in 20 minutes. But first, please give me privacy with my family. His eyes cut to Ms. Linda on the word family. The investors nodded, uncomfortable and eager to escape the heat. In the study, Ethan's phone rang again. It was his PR head, Chloe, speaking fast. We need a statement that says it was a simple staff fatigue incident and you handled it with professionalism. Also, Ms. Linda just posted something. We do not tolerate unprofessional behavior in our home. It's getting ugly. Ethan, are you with me? I'm with you, he said. Draft the humane version. Emphasize dignity and fair work. He hung up and faced Ms. Linda. Delete your post. She folded her arms. I am saving your brand. You are burning my soul, he said quietly. While the adults argued upstairs, downstairs a small thing happened. A small thing that was also big. Sam, the laundry boy, gave Mara a glass of cold water. She held it with shaking hands. You'll be okay, Sam said. Mr. Ethan is different. I hope so, Mara whispered. Her eyes were wet, but she did not let the tears fall. She remembered her mother's cough. She remembered the bus fare in her pocket. She remembered the blue duvet and wanted to disappear. Outside the gates, cars began to slow as people checked their phones. Two bloggers who lived nearby smelled drama and came to stand across the street. A neighbor sent a voice note to her friend. They caught the maid in the boss's bed. In that big mansion. The friend replied, Send me the picture. The neighbor said, I will when my data loads. The city did what cities do, made a small story large. Back upstairs, the less extreme part of the day tried to return. The cooks plated peppered chicken for the meeting that might still happen. The gardener watered the hibiscus. The driver checked the air in the tires. Life tried to behave. But the storm had already chosen this house. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped into the hallway to go back downstairs. He planned to gather the staff, speak directly, and set a shield around the girl at the center of the noise. He would call the board, tell them the truth and stand there until they believed it or left. He would not throw a tired worker to the wolves so rich men could feel safe. He had just placed his hand on the banister when every phone in the house pinged at once, the kind of loud, layered chime that sounds like a bad chorus. Even the smart speakers on the wall lit up with notifications. Mrs. Gloria looked down at her screen and covered her mouth. The driver swore under his breath. Sam's eyes went wide. A gossip page had posted the photo with a new caption, Billionaire Bachelor's Secret, Maid Caught on His Bed. Source says ongoing affair. Under it, a video started to spread, grainy but clear enough, of Mara being led down the hallway wrapped in Ethan's jacket. The comments were a flood. Some people defended. Many did not. And then, like salt on a wound, blue and red lights flashed across the far wall of the foyer. Someone had called the police. The siren sound grew sharp and close, slicing the air like a knife. Outside the front door, voices rose. Neighbors, bloggers, curious passers-by, all pressing toward the gate. The guards tried to calm them. Phones rose like a field of small moons, all pointed at the mansion that now felt too made of glass. Mara stood up from the stool where she had been trying to breathe. Her hands trembled. She looked at Mrs. Gloria. Ma, what is that? Mrs. Gloria's mouth was tight. Trouble, she said. Stay behind me. Ethan reached the bottom stair just as the first officer stepped through the gate with a hard look and a notepad. Ms. Linda walked fast to meet them, her face ready to perform. Ethan's eyes flashed and he moved faster, putting himself between the officers and the staff. His heart beat like drums on festival night. This had gone beyond PR and investors. This was now a question of justice and dignity. He opened his mouth to speak, to calm, to explain, to cover, but before a single word came out, the officer lifted his chin and said, "We received a report of misconduct and possible exploitation in this house. We will be asking questions. Starting with the girl in the video." Every sound in the foyer dropped away. The mansion, so big and mighty, held its breath. "Where is the maid?" the officer asked. And in that instant, every phone lit up again with a new post, one that made Ethan's jaw clench and Mara's knees weak. It was from Ms. Linda's account. It said, "As acting guardian of this home, I have taken action. The maid is fired. She will be removed from the premises tonight." The guards turned, confused. The crowd outside pressed closer. The officer took a step in. Mrs. Gloria tightened her arm around Mara. Ethan's eyes went dark with a loyalty that felt like fire. Then the officer's radio crackled. "Unit, stand by, crowd forming, call for backup." Sirens answered from a distance like a choir. The blue and red lights grew brighter through the glass. And the front doors swung open wide. Where are you watching from? Tell me your city or country in the comments. If you're enjoying this story and want to know what happens next, tap like, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss. Blue and red lights painted the white walls like fast-moving waves. 2 more police cars stopped at the gate. The iron doors rolled open, and the officers walked in with heavy steps and serious faces. Phones outside kept filming. Voices rose. Someone shouted, "Arrest her." Someone else shouted, "Leave the girl." The sound was a storm. Ethan stepped forward before anyone else could speak. His voice was clear, steady, and strong. "Officers, welcome. I'm Ethan Cole. This is my home. No one here has been exploited." A staff member, Mara, was exhausted and fell asleep on a bed while changing sheets. "That is the truth. Please allow me to gather the team so we can answer your questions with respect." The lead officer was a tall woman with calm eyes. Her name tag read, Lieutenant Harper. She glanced at her partner, then at the crowd pressed against the fence, then back at Ethan. "Sir, we received reports. We have to confirm safety and facts." Her gaze moved to Mara, who stood half-hidden behind Mrs. Gloria, still wrapped in Ethan's suit jacket like a small boat wrapped by a big wave. "Are you Mara?" Mara swallowed. "Yes, ma'am," she said, voice small but clear. "I'm okay." Ms. Linda, face tight, started to speak fast. "Officer, I'm the acting guardian of this home. The help broke rules. We do not allow." Ethan raised a hand without looking at her. "Aunt Linda," he said, "please let me handle this." Lieutenant Harper lifted her notepad. "Let's move somewhere quiet," she said. "Too many eyes out here." She nodded at a hallway off the foyer. Ethan led the way to the formal sitting room, a soft place with big windows and calm paintings. Mrs. Gloria and Mara followed. Sam, the laundry boy, hovered near the door like a skinny bird. Ms. Linda came too, tight as wire. They sat. Lieutenant Harper stood. Her partner stood near the door, listening and watching. The crowd noise outside softened to a low roar. The house breathed again. "Okay," Lieutenant Harper said. "Tell me everything from the start." Ethan did not make a speech. He did not try to sound clever. He told the story in simple steps, the way you teach a child to tie a shoe. "Mara works long hours because our home is big. Today she was changing sheets upstairs for a business visit. She sat for a second. She fell asleep. I brought investors to the room without warning. We found her asleep. I told my staff not to touch her. I gave her my jacket because she was embarrassed. Someone sent a photo online. It grew. That's it." Lieutenant Harper wrote while he spoke. She turned to Mara. "Is this true?" Mara nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was very tired. I didn't want to sleep. It just happened." She lowered her eyes, then lifted them again because courage is a muscle you have to use. "I never meant to bring trouble. My mother is sick. I need this job." Mrs. Gloria's voice was firm and kind. "She's a hard worker," she said. "She never sits. Today her body sat for her." Ms. Linda made a small sound. "Officer, with respect, we have rules. Staff do not enter the master's bed like." Lieutenant Harper looked at her. "Ma'am, I will ask you questions in a moment." Then she turned to Ethan again. "Was there any misconduct toward the maid?" "No," Ethan said. "Any pressure?" Any private messages? Any gifts? No, he said again. I don't cross that line. Lieutenant Harper watched his face the way doctors watch a monitor. She did not see a lie. She wrote more notes. All right, she said. We'll also check security footage to confirm the timeline. Ethan nodded. Of course. The storm inside the room began to slow. The noise outside, the comments online, the hot breath of shame, all of it felt a little smaller when truth sat in the middle like a rock. That was the less extreme moment, the kind that looks simple and normal but matters a lot. It was the moment when people chose calm over chaos and facts over fire. Ethan spoke to the officers with respect. The officers listened. Mrs. Gloria handed Mara a second glass of water. Sam brought a small stool so she could sit nearer to the air conditioner vent. Someone closed the curtains to block the crowd's eyes. For a few minutes, kindness moved through the room like clean air. Chloe, the head of PR, arrived then, fast and neat, with a tablet in her hand and worry in her eyes. I'm here, she said to Ethan, breathless. We prepared a statement. A staff member experienced fatigue while performing duties. Mr. Cole addressed it with dignity and care. The company supports fair work and rest. We can post now. Post it, Ethan said. He looked at Lieutenant Harper. If you prefer we wait, we will. Post facts, Lieutenant Harper said. Facts help. Chloe nodded and typed. She glanced at Mara. Are you okay? She asked softly, voice different now, human and warm. Mara tried to smile. I think so, she said. Thank you. Less extreme things kept happening that mattered. Ethan texted the clinic and asked the doctor to check on his staff tomorrow for free. He asked the kitchen to make pepper soup, not for the investors but for the team. He asked Mrs. Gloria to adjust the roster so people could rest more. We will not build a big dream on tired backs, he said. Even Ms. Linda went silent for a while, maybe because the room was full of right choices and it is hard to fight against a quiet, good thing. Lieutenant Harper closed her notebook. Next step, she said, is the camera footage. She nodded to Ethan. Please have your security head bring the recordings from the master floor hallway today. Ethan spoke into his earpiece to call the security head, Mr. Klein, a thin man with clipped hair who loved rules. Bring the hallway camera feed from this afternoon to the sitting room, he said. Now please. On my way, Mr. Klein's voice crackled back. Outside, the PR post began to spread. Some comments softened. People wrote, it happens. Others wrote, let the girl rest. The crowd at the gate started to thin. A neighbor muttered, no drama left, and went home to make stew. The noise was still there, but it was softer, like rain after thunder. Mr. Klein hurried in with a laptop and a small silver drive. He set them on the coffee table. Here, he said, plugging in cables with quick hands. Lieutenant Harper stood behind him. Ethan moved aside so she could see the screen. Ms. Linda leaned close like a cat at a window. Mara sat very still, hands folded, heart beating hard. Mr. Klein clicked through folders. This is the top floor hallway at noon, he said. The screen showed a wide view of the hall outside the master bedroom. The timestamp rolled like a little river in the corner. People walked through the frame earlier. A housekeeper with pillows, a handyman with a ladder, Ms. Linda with flowers and a phone. Then the hallway was empty. A minute later, Ethan appeared with the investors. They moved toward the bedroom door. The door opened. Then there was only hallway again. Lieutenant Harper nodded. So far so good, she said. Now the bedroom camera. Mr. Klein froze. The bedroom camera, Lieutenant Harper repeated. Mr. Klein's throat moved. Sir, he said to Ethan, the master bedroom has no camera for privacy. Lieutenant Harper wrote that down. It was normal. High-end homes often avoid cameras in bedrooms. Fine, she said. Any other angles that show Mara entering the room with clean sheets? It helps paint the whole picture. Mr. Klein clicked. He opened another folder. Staff corridor 11:58 a.m., he said. The screen showed Mara pushing a tall cart with fresh sheets, her scarf tied neat. She moved with care, slow but steady. No one was with her. No one touched her. No secret looks. No strange shadows. Just work. Good, Lieutenant Harper said. Save copies and send them to my email. Mr. Klein nodded. The room relaxed again just a little. The less extreme calm spread like warm light on water. Chloe sent a message. Board saw the post. Some are supportive. Investors still tense but listening. The cook peeped in with bowls of pepper soup, and the smell made even nervous stomachs feel human. Ethan thanked him. Mara held the bowl in both hands and let the steam touch her face. For a few minutes the house felt like a house again. That is when the new extreme thing happened. became quiet at first, the way a snake moves in grass. The partner officer, who had been near the door, stepped closer. He held a clear evidence bag. Inside was a heavy gold watch with a dark leather band, the kind of watch that has a face like a moon. He spoke in a careful voice. "Sir," he said to Ethan, "is this yours?" Ethan frowned. "Yes," he said slowly. "It looks like my father's watch. He left it to me. It is usually in my dresser. Why do you have it?" The officer held up a second clear bag. Inside was a small tote bag, Mara's simple canvas purse with faded flowers on it. "One of your guards found this watch inside this bag by the back stair," he said. "The guard says the bag belongs to the maid." The room went hot and cold at the same time. Mara shook her head before her mouth could move. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. That is not mine. I don't know about any watch. My bag was with me. I left it by the cleaning cart." Her voice broke. Mrs. Gloria put an arm around her shoulders. Ms. Linda made a soft sound that was not soft at all. "I warned you," she said under her breath. "I warned you about girls like this." Ethan's face changed. It did not fill with anger first. It filled with thought. He looked at the bag. He looked at Mara's hands. He looked at Mr. Klein. Then he spoke with control. "Lieutenant," he said, "something is wrong. Mara would not steal from me. She has no reason. She did not go near my dresser. We were standing in the doorway when we found her. Please check the footage around the back stair." Lieutenant Harper's eyes were sharp now, the way a doctor's eyes get sharp when a heartbeat goes strange. "We will," she said. "Mr. Klein, pull the back stair camera for the last 2 hours." Mr. Klein clicked fast, fingers stiff. The screen showed the back stair hallway. People moved through, Sam carrying linens, the cook with a crate of soda, a guard walking with a bored face. Then at 12:14 p.m., Ms. Linda walked through the frame holding her phone and a small box of flowers. She stopped to put the flowers on a side table. She adjusted a vase. She moved on. The timestamp rolled. At 12:19 p.m., the hallway emptied. A minute later, the frame went black for 3 seconds. When it returned, the hallway looked the same, but the timestamp had jumped. 3 seconds missing is not much, like a blink, but in a story like this, even a blink matters. Lieutenant Harper narrowed her eyes. "Why the gap?" she asked softly. Mr. Klein swallowed. I don't know. It might be a packet loss. The system sometimes drops a frame." "Does it drop exact 3-second chunks often?" she asked. "Not often," he said. At 12:23 p.m., Sam walked through again, humming, a bundle of towels in his arms. He set them down, tied his shoelace, picked them up, and left. At 12:31 p.m., a guard passed with a walkie-talkie. At 12:40 p.m., no one. At 12:43 p.m., the laundry door opened and closed. Normal house life, normal house traffic. No one slipping a watch into a bag. Nothing clear. Just a blink of missing time sitting there like a question mark. The partner officer lifted the bag again. "The guard says he saw this tote by the stair," he repeated. He opened it to check ID and saw the watch. Mara stood up, shaking. "That is my tote," she said, "but I did not put a watch inside. I swear. I left the tote on my cart with my small purse inside. It has bus fare and a photo of my mom. That's all." Ethan moved between Mara and the judgment in the room like a shield. "Lieutenant," he said, "check the cart camera. Check everything. Please." "We will," Lieutenant Harper said. Her voice was still calm, but now it had steel in it. She turned to the partner officer. "Bag the area. Bring the guard who found it." He nodded and stepped out. Ms. Linda smoothed her dress. "I told you," she said softly to Ethan, so only he could hear. "Mercy makes people think you are weak. Now look." Ethan did not answer her. He looked at Mara, who was breathing like someone running uphill. He looked at Mrs. Gloria, who held her like a mother holds fear. He looked at Sam, who stood near the wall with his fists in his pockets and his jaw set. Then he did something simple and brave. He took out his wallet and put it on the table next to the laptop. "Lieutenant," he said, "I am here. I will not run. I will not hide. If there is a thief in this house, it is not this girl." The partner officer returned with the guard who claimed to find the bag. The guard's name was Nico. He looked jumpy. He told the same short story twice like he had memorized it. "Bag by stair. I open. Watch inside. I call it in." His eyes kept flicking toward Ms. Linda and then away. It was a small flick, the kind many people would miss. Ethan did not miss it. Lieutenant Harper did not miss it either. She said, "Nico, stay here." Then to Mr. Klein, Pull camera for staff corridor where Mara left her cart. Mr. Klein clicked again. New footage showed the staff corridor. There was Mara at 11:58 a.m., pushing the cart with fresh sheets. She stopped near a wall, set her tote on the lower shelf and moved on. No one touched it for minutes. Then Nico walked into the frame at 12:16 p.m., looked around, bent as if to tie his shoe and rose again. His hand had been near the cart. He walked off. 2 minutes later the screen blinked and jumped 1 second. When the picture came back the cart looked the same, but the tote sat at a slightly different angle, the small handles not lined up. A small thing. But a thing. Nico swallowed. Sweat rolled from his temple. Mara's voice was small but steady now. "I did not take anything," she said. "Please believe me." Lieutenant Harper closed her notebook. "We're going to need to hold items and secure statements," she said. She looked at Nico. "Don't leave." She looked at Ethan. "Sir, we will do this by procedure." Ethan nodded. "Do it right," he said. "Please." The partner officer lifted the evidence bag with the watch again. He also lifted a second small bag with Mara's bus fare and a folded photo of a smiling woman with bright eyes, Ruth. He placed the small bag back beside Mara. "This is yours," he said gently. Mara touched the photo with a finger the way people touch a blessing. Then the radio on the partner officer's shoulder crackled again. "Unit heads up. Gossip page has posted, maid caught stealing heirloom. Crowd returning. Back up en route." The extreme storm outside looped back like a bad song that will not stop. Through the curtains you could hear the noise rising again, horns, steps, phones, heat. Lieutenant Harper took a breath and spoke in a firm voice. "Until we finish we must secure the person connected to the item." "It is procedure," she said. "Mara, I will need you to come with us for formal questions at the station." Mara's knees bent, not from guilt but from weight. Mrs. Gloria held her up. "She did not," Mrs. Gloria began. Ethan stepped forward. "Lieutenant, I will bring her myself. I will post bond. I will bring counsel. Please do not touch her like she is a criminal. Please." Lieutenant Harper nodded once. "We can ride together," she said. "No cuffs if she agrees to come peacefully." Mara found her voice. "I will come," she said. "I did nothing wrong." But Ms. Linda made a face like a sour fruit and whispered something to Nico that no one else could hear. Nico nodded too quickly. The partner officer saw it. Lieutenant Harper saw it. Questions grew in her eyes. And then the study doors opened hard. 3 investors stepped in without knocking, faces tight, eyes cold as office glass. The tallest one said, "Ethan, the board is on a call. They want you off the vote tonight. If you don't make a strong move right now, we're pulling funding." Ethan looked at them like they were puddles in the road he had already chosen to cross. He turned away from them and back to Mara. "I'm going with you," he said, steady as a door that will not blow open. The investors' faces hardened. Outside, sirens wailed again. Inside, the officer lifted the evidence bag with the watch. The partner officer reached toward Mara with an open palm, not grabbing but close. "Please come now," he said. Mara stood, legs shaking, hand on the photo of her mother. She took 1 step forward toward the door and the long night waiting. And just as she did, Mr. Klein made a sound like someone who sees a snake under the sofa. "Wait," he cried, stabbing at the keyboard. The backstair camera showed a new frame. One Mr. Klein had missed inside a hidden cache file, a reflection on polished glass during the 3-second gap. A hand, not Nico's, not Mara's, sliding a watch into a tote. A ring on the finger. A ring with a flat, square face. A ring that looked very much like the one on Ms. Linda's hand. The room froze. Everyone turned. Ms. Linda's eyes flashed like a blade. And the partner officer's hand, still stretched toward Mara, stopped in the air, inches from her wrist. "Where are you watching from? Tell me your city or country in the comments, subscribe and like." The study was so quiet you could hear the old clock on the mantel tick. Everyone's eyes were locked on the grainy reflection on the screen, a hand slipping the gold watch into Mara's tote. A ring glinted on that hand, sharp and square. Slowly, as if in a nightmare, every gaze turned toward Ms. Linda. She folded her arms and laughed, too loud, too brittle. "What is this nonsense? You call that proof? A blurry reflection? Anyone could wear a ring like mine." She held up her hand, the ring catching the light like a knife. Lieutenant Harper didn't blink. "Ma'am, you were in that hallway during the time frame. You had opportunity. The footage gap is suspicious. We will need a full statement from you as well." Ms. Linda's nostrils flared. "Do you know who I am? I am the only family this man has left. I raised him after his parents died. And you stand here pointing fingers at me? At me?" Ethan's voice was calm, but it carried iron. You raised me, Aunt Linda, yes. But you also just tried to destroy a young woman who did nothing wrong. You spread posts before you knew the truth. Now this footage shows what it shows. Why? Ms. Linda's face flushed dark. Why? Her voice cracked like thunder. Because you are blind, Ethan. Blind. You let maids run loose in your house. You think kindness builds empires? Investors don't respect soft men. I was protecting you. Protecting our name. That girl is a danger. She is not a danger, Ethan cut in, his voice sharper than glass. She is tired. That's all. And you planted a watch in her bag. Gasps filled the room. Sam nearly dropped the stool he was holding. Mrs. Gloria tightened her grip on Mara, who stood trembling but unbroken. The officers exchanged looks. Lieutenant Harper lifted her chin. Ma'am, we will need to detain you for questioning. The footage will be secured as evidence. No. Ms. Linda's voice rang high. You will not humiliate me in front of strangers. She turned to Ethan, eyes blazing. Tell them to stop. Tell them who I am. Ethan stepped closer, his height casting a shadow over her. You are my aunt, he said slowly, his voice shaking with hurt. But right now, you are also the woman who tried to ruin an innocent girl to protect an image. That's not family. That's betrayal. For the first time, Ms. Linda's eyes flickered with something almost human, fear. She looked at Nico, the guard, who shifted uncomfortably under everyone's gaze. He stammered, I only found the bag, I didn't, she told me. Enough, Lieutenant Harper said firmly. Nico, you'll give a statement. Ma'am, you'll come with us. Ms. Linda backed away, shaking her head. You'll regret this, Ethan. Without me, you're nothing. Those investors will eat you alive. I'd rather be eaten alive than live on lies, Ethan said. Two officers gently took Ms. Linda's arms. She did not fight, but her glare was cold as stone. They led her out through the hall, where staff whispered, and the muffled roar of the crowd outside grew wild. Phones rose higher, capturing her image now, the aunt of a billionaire accused of framing a maid. Inside, silence wrapped the sitting room. Mara sank into the stool Sam had dragged forward. Her hands covered her face. A sob escaped, not of guilt but of relief. Mrs. Gloria rubbed her back like a mother rubbing a child. Ethan crouched down beside Mara. Look at me, he said softly. She lifted her tear-streaked face. His eyes were steady. You did nothing wrong. Do you hear me? Nothing. Her lips trembled. But everyone saw the picture. Everyone thinks. Let them talk, Ethan said. The truth always comes out. Today it already has. Lieutenant Harper closed her notebook. Sir, we'll process the evidence. We'll release a preliminary statement clearing Mara of suspicion. I suggest you also address your staff so rumors don't eat your house alive. Ethan nodded. I'll do it now. They all moved to the grand foyer. Staff gathered, wide-eyed, cooks with aprons, gardeners with dirt still on their shoes, guards stiff with unease. Mara stood in the center, small in Ethan's jacket. The police presence, the flashing lights, the whispers, everything made her heart pound. Ethan raised his voice, clear enough for every corner of the house to hear. Everyone listen to me. What happened today was not Mara's fault. She worked herself until her body gave out. That is not a crime. That is dedication. Someone tried to use her mistake against her. But the truth has come out. She is innocent. The staff shifted, relief softening their faces. Sam actually clapped once before catching himself. The cooks smiled through their worry. Ethan continued, this house will not punish people for being human. If one of us is tired, we rest. If one of us is weak, we lift them. That is how family works, even if some people forget it. His jaw tightened at the last words, meant for the memory of Ms. Linda. The staff nodded, murmuring agreement. For the first time, Mara felt something she had not felt since stepping through the mansion gates. Safety. But as the tension began to ease, Chloe, the PR head, stepped forward, tablet in hand, eyes wide. Ethan, the investors are calling again. They've seen the police cars. They've seen your aunt being escorted out. They want an emergency meeting right now. They're threatening to pull out unless you make a public apology and a strong statement distancing yourself from Mara. The relief cracked like thin ice. Every eye turned to Ethan again. Mara's chest squeezed, her job, her life, maybe even her freedom, was still hanging on the edge of a blade. Ethan's face hardened. He knew this was a new battle. His investors wanted him to choose, money or mercy, power or truth, and he knew the whole world was watching. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. If you're following this story, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss. Ethan stood in the center of the foyer, the golden chandelier spilling light across his face. Around him the staff watched, their hearts pounding. Outside, the crowd's noise throbbed like a restless drum. Chloe's voice hung heavy in the air. They want you to apologize publicly and distance yourself from Mara. Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked at Mara, small, trembling but still standing with dignity in his jacket. He thought about his father's words long ago, "Son, money can buy walls but only truth can build a home." He turned to Chloe. "Prepare the call," he said. Chloe blinked. "The investors?" "Yes," Ethan said steady. "Put them on speaker here. Everyone in this house will hear what I say." The staff gasped. The cooks leaned forward, aprons still dusted with flour. The gardener gripped his cap in his hands. Sam stood frozen, his fists clenched in his pockets. Mara's heart thudded in her chest. Chloe hesitated, then tapped the tablet. A tone filled the foyer, and then the flat voices of men echoed. "Ethan, finally. We've had enough. The optics are terrible. Police at your gates, your aunt in custody, rumors everywhere. If you don't make a clean cut, publicly denounce that maid, you'll lose us." The words dropped like stones in water. All eyes flicked to Ethan. He drew a long breath. "Gentlemen," he said calmly, "I won't lie to save money. Mara did nothing wrong. She fell asleep because she worked too hard. The fault is not hers, it's mine. I built a house so big it drained people and I didn't see it. That changes today." "Ethan," one investor snapped. "Are you insane? Billions are at stake." "Then let them go," Ethan said. His voice was iron. "I'd rather lose billions than lose my soul. If this company cannot stand on truth, it doesn't deserve to stand at all." The staff gasped. Sam's eyes shone. Mara covered her mouth with her hands. The investors' voices tangled in fury. "This is weakness. You'll destroy everything we built." "No," Ethan said, "you'll destroy everything you built. I'll rebuild on my terms, with people who value truth." He ended the call with one firm tap. The silence afterward was louder than the shouting had been. For a heartbeat the mansion was still. Then slowly applause broke. First from Sam, then from Mrs. Gloria, then the cooks and guards. It spread like fire. Even Lieutenant Harper allowed a small nod of respect. But Chloe's face remained tight. She stepped close and whispered, "Ethan, you just declared war. Investors won't go quietly. They'll drag your name through the mud. You may not have a company tomorrow." "I'll have my name," Ethan said simply. "And that's enough." The less extreme calm that followed felt like dawn after storm. The police cars pulled back, the crowd thinned as gossip shifted elsewhere. Mara sat with Mrs. Gloria in the kitchen, sipping ginger tea the cook had made, her hands finally steady. For a moment she felt peace. For a moment she almost believed the worst was over. But storms don't leave without leaving shadows. That evening, as the staff prepared to rest, Sam hurried into the servants' quarters, pale and shaking. He carried a folded piece of paper. "Mara," he whispered, "this was taped to the laundry door." Mara unfolded it. The handwriting was sharp and angry. "You ruined everything. You'll pay for this. Don't think Ethan can protect you. You won't last in this house. Leave before it's too late." The paper slipped from Mara's hands. Her stomach knotted with dread. And just as fear crawled through her veins, the mansion's power cut out. Darkness swallowed the house. Staff screamed. The generator, always steady, stayed silent. Somewhere upstairs, glass shattered like a gunshot. The peace was gone. The real war had begun. Where are you watching from? Let me know your city or country in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more stories. The mansion plunged into darkness. The golden chandelier, once blazing like a crown, now hung dead in the silence. Only the moonlight slipping through tall windows gave the halls a faint silver glow. Then came the sound, sharp and jagged, glass shattering somewhere upstairs. The staff gasped. Sam grabbed Mara's hand. "Stay with me," he whispered. Mrs. Gloria barked orders in the dark, her voice trembling but firm. "Everyone stay together. Don't scatter." Ethan's deep voice cut through the chaos. "Security, status report." But the walkie-talkies only hissed static. The guards near the gates shouted back faintly, "Generators down. We're checking the power room, something's been tampered with." Lieutenant Harper, still inside, drew a small flashlight from her belt. The beam sliced through the dark, steady and calm. "Nobody panic," she said. "Stay where you are. Mr. Cole, show me the stairs." Ethan nodded, his jaw tight. This way. He motioned for Chloe to guide the staff into the dining hall, the safest space with only one entrance. But Mara's feet felt like they had grown roots into the marble. Something in her spirit whispered, "This isn't random." Another crash upstairs confirmed it. Then footsteps, fast, heavy, deliberate. Whoever was in the mansion wasn't hiding. They wanted to be heard. The less extreme moments tried to creep in, tiny comforts in the storm. The cook lit a lantern from the emergency cabinet. Sam squeezed Mara's hand tighter, whispering, "Don't be scared." Mrs. Gloria hummed under her breath, an old hymn her mother taught her. It gave the staff a thin shield of courage. But that calm broke when the intruder finally showed himself. He appeared at the top of the grand staircase, shadow first, then body. A man in dark clothes, face hidden under a black hood, carrying a crowbar that dripped with broken glass. His voice was low and mocking. "Big house. Bright name. Soft heart." He tapped the crowbar against the railing. Clang. Clang. "Ethan Cole, you ruined a deal worth millions tonight. And now you'll pay." Ethan stepped forward, unflinching. "Who sent you?" The man tilted his head. "People with more money than mercy. Investors don't like weak kings." Gasps swept through the staff. Chloe's face went pale. The truth was as sharp as the crowbar. The investors Ethan had defied had already struck back. Lieutenant Harper raised her flashlight like a weapon. "Drop the bar. You're trespassing on private property." The man laughed. "Lady cop, don't play games. You think light scares me? I came for more than breaking glass." His eyes shifted down the staircase, locking onto Mara. "I came for leverage." Mara's breath caught. She stepped back, but her heel hit the edge of the rug. The intruder started down the stairs, slow but certain. Ethan's voice thundered. "Touch her, and you'll never leave this house standing." But the man only smiled under the hood. "Then stop me." The room froze. Every heart pounded like drums of war. The crowbar gleamed in the moonlight, and Mara's knees nearly buckled. Then, without warning, the intruder lunged forward, swinging the crowbar. The staff screamed. Sam pulled Mara aside, but the weapon smashed into the marble floor, sparking fire and stone. In that chaos, Ethan charged. He tackled the man, the two of them crashing against the staircase railing. The crowbar clanged across the floor, sliding toward Mara's feet. "Run, Mara!" Ethan shouted. But before she could move, the intruder shoved Ethan off and reached for his pocket. A knife flashed in his hand. The staff cried out. Chloe screamed. Sam tried to drag Mara back. And in that terrifying moment, Mara did the unthinkable. She bent, grabbed the crowbar and raised it high. Her tired arms shook, but her eyes blazed with something new, courage she didn't know she had. The intruder turned. His knife glinted. Mara swung. The crowbar struck with a sound that silenced the mansion. The man staggered, blood darkening his hood. He fell to one knee, groaning. Ethan ripped the knife from his hand and threw it across the hall. Lieutenant Harper rushed forward, pinning the intruder with professional force. For a long heartbeat, the house was still again. Everyone stared at Mara, small, exhausted Mara, standing with the crowbar in her hands like a warrior, her chest rising and falling like thunder. Ethan's eyes locked on hers, wide with shock and something else, something like awe. But the silence didn't last. From outside came the roar of more engines, more footsteps, more men. The intruder on the floor laughed through his blood. "You think I came alone?" he spat. "This is only the beginning." The staff gasped. Mara's fingers tightened on the crowbar. Ethan's fists clenched. Lieutenant Harper called for backup, her voice sharp. And then, through the broken window above, another shadow dropped into the mansion. "Where are you watching from? Tell me your city or country in the comments. If you're hooked and want to see what happens when the shadows multiply, smash that like button, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss." The second shadow landed with a thud on the marble floor, crouched like a predator. His hood slipped, showing a scar across his jaw. In his hand gleamed a chain, heavy and cold. Behind him, two more figures slid through the shattered window, boots crunching glass. Gasps filled the foyer. The staff huddled together, their lantern light trembling. Sam pulled Mara behind him even though his body shook. Mrs. Gloria clutched the cook's arm, whispering, "Oh Lord, cover us." The first intruder, still pinned under Lieutenant Harper, laughed through bloody teeth. "Told you. He doesn't stand alone. We came to finish what your aunt started, Ethan." Ethan straightened, his shirt torn from the scuffle. His chest rose and fell like a storm tide. "You picked the wrong house," he said, voice low but thunderous. The intruders didn't wait. The scarred man swung his chain toward Ethan's head. Ethan ducked. The chain smashed against the banister, splinters flying. Lieutenant Harper barked an order, "Get down," and pulled her taser, firing at the nearest shadow. Sparks lit the hall and one man collapsed, convulsing. But the other two pressed forward. One lunged at Chloe, grabbing her tablet and smashing it against the floor. The screen exploded in sparks. Chloe screamed, stumbling back. The third grabbed Sam by the collar and shoved him against the wall. Mara cried out and swung the crowbar again, hitting the man's arm. He roared in pain, releasing Sam. It was chaos. Feet pounding, glass crunching, shouts, the metallic ring of weapons. But amid the madness, something else stirred: courage. The less extreme moments became sparks of hope. The cook, strong from years of lifting pots, grabbed a rolling pin and struck one intruder's leg. The gardener, who always carried pruning shears at his belt, snapped them open with trembling hands and stood guard at the dining hall door. Sam, bruised but unbroken, picked up a heavy vase and hurled it across the room, shattering it against the wall near the attackers. For a moment the staff stopped being servants. They became defenders of their home. But the extreme storm returned in a flash. The scarred man ripped the crowbar from Mara's hands and shoved her hard. She hit the floor, gasping. He raised the weapon above her head, ready to strike. "No!" Ethan's roar split the air. He tackled the man with the force of a bull, both of them crashing into the glass coffee table. The crowbar clanged away. Ethan's fists hammered down, fueled by fury and something more, fear of losing Mara. The scarred man spat blood and hissed, "They'll bury you for this, Cole. You've made enemies you can't fight." "Then let them come," Ethan growled, pinning him down. Lieutenant Harper's radio crackled. Backup sirens screamed closer, flooding the night. But the attackers weren't finished. The last intruder, tall and silent, pulled something from his jacket. Not a knife. Not a chain. A small black pistol. Time froze. Staff screamed. Chloe fell to her knees. Sam pulled Mara close, shielding her with his own body. The man's voice was cold. "The board wants you gone, Ethan. Dead or ruined, it doesn't matter. But you made it personal. So it'll be dead." He aimed the gun. Ethan turned slowly, blood streaking his face. His eyes locked on Mara, then on the barrel pointed at him. His breath slowed, steady as if he had already accepted the end. Mara's hands shook, her lips whispering a prayer. Every second stretched like an eternity. Then, crack. A shot rang out. The gunman staggered, dropping the pistol with a clatter. He collapsed, clutching his shoulder. Behind him, through the shattered window, a squad of armed officers stormed in, weapons raised, flashlights cutting the dark. "Police!" voices thundered. "Drop your weapons. Hands where we can see them." In seconds the intruders were cuffed, dragged out screaming and spitting threats. The scarred man glared at Ethan as they pulled him away. "This isn't over. The people who sent us, they won't stop." The foyer was a battlefield, glass, blood, broken wood and trembling breaths. Staff clung to each other, whispering thanks to God. Lieutenant Harper holstered her taser, sweat glistening on her forehead. Ethan stood in the center, chest heaving, eyes blazing. He turned and saw Mara still on the floor, Sam holding her tight. Ethan crossed to her, knelt and took her hand gently. "You saved me," he said, voice raw. "Twice tonight." Mara shook her head, tears spilling. "No, sir. You saved me. From your aunt. From them. I don't know why you'd fight this hard for me." Ethan's gaze held hers, fierce and unyielding. "Because you deserve it. Because nobody else ever did. And because without you tonight, I might already be dead." The room was still. The staff stared wide-eyed. A spark of something more than gratitude, more than loyalty, flickered between them. But before anyone could breathe relief, Chloe's cracked voice whispered, "Ethan, look." She pointed to the broken tablet, its screen flickering weakly, still connected to the investor group call. Their faces, cold, stone, furious, stared from the shattered glass. They had seen everything. And one investor's voice, dripping with venom, hissed through the broken speaker. "You've chosen a mate over billions. Tomorrow you'll regret it. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, smash like, subscribe and turn on notifications." The shattered tablet buzzed with static, but the investors' faces remained clear on the cracked screen. Cold, unmoving like masks carved from stone. Their voices spilled through, one after the other, dripping with disdain. "You've embarrassed us, Ethan. You've chosen dirt over diamonds. You'll watch your empire crumble in less than 24 hours. The line went dead. The tablet screen finally faded to black. For a long breath, The foyer was silent except for the sound of glass crunching under the boots of officers as they secured the scene. Then Chloe exhaled sharply, her voice shaking. They mean it, Ethan. They have the board in their pocket. They can freeze accounts, poison partnerships, kill deals in a single night. By morning you could lose everything. Ethan stood tall, blood still drying on his cheek, his torn shirt hanging loose. His eyes burned with a quiet fire. Let them try. They can take the money. They can take the deals. But they'll never take my name. The staff exchanged stunned looks. Some felt pride. Some felt fear. Mara, sitting on the floor with Sam's arm around her, stared at Ethan as if seeing him for the first time. A man who would rather burn down his fortune than betray what was right. The less extreme calm crept in after the storm. Officers escorted the last of the intruders out. The cook mopped broken glass from the corners. The gardener helped lift toppled chairs. Chloe managed to call an IT contact to lock Ethan's accounts before the investors could freeze them. For a moment, the mansion seemed to breathe again. But calm never stays long in a house built on fire. At dawn, Ethan's phone buzzed. Over and over. He finally answered. Chloe had already put the call on speaker so everyone gathered in the kitchen could hear. It was the chairman of the board. His voice was smooth, but it carried the weight of threat. Mr. Cole, the board has voted. Effective immediately, you are suspended as CEO pending investigation into last night's spectacle. The media is running wild. We cannot risk the company's name. Ethan's jaw tightened. So you let criminals dictate your decisions. Business is not about emotions, the chairman replied coldly. Step aside, or you'll be removed permanently. The line clicked dead. The staff looked at Ethan, waiting for him to break. But instead he stood taller. They think money makes them kings, he said. But they forget, I built that throne with my own hands. Mrs. Gloria wiped her hands on her apron and spoke with quiet strength. Sir, forgive me, but they will come for more than your company. They will come for your peace. For her. She nodded at Mara. Mara froze. Me? Yes, child, Mrs. Gloria said. They tried to paint you as a thief. They sent men into this house. They know Ethan will fight for you. That makes you their weapon. Mara's chest tightened. Her eyes dropped to her lap. Maybe I should leave, she whispered. If I go, they won't use me against him. No, Ethan's voice thundered, louder than she had ever heard. Everyone looked at him. He stepped forward, eyes locked on Mara. You will not run. You will not carry their shame. You did nothing wrong. You belong here as much as anyone. His words filled the kitchen with heat. Sam nodded fiercely. The cook whispered a prayer of thanks. Even Chloe's tired eyes softened, though worry still lingered. For a brief hour, hope flickered. They ate bread and tea together, staff and master at one table like family. Mara even smiled faintly when Sam made a joke about her wielding the crowbar, like a superhero. The staff laughed, and for a moment the mansion felt like a home. But then, extreme storm returned. The morning news blasted across every phone in the house. Headlines screamed, billionaire CEO suspended after maid scandal. From bed to boardroom, the fall of Ethan Cole. Who is the maid at the center of it all? Pictures of Mara in Ethan's jacket were everywhere. Her face, once invisible, was now plastered across screens. Blogs twisted her story into lies. Some called her his secret lover. Others called her a gold digger. A few defended her, but their voices drowned in the noise. Mara stared at the headlines, her hands trembling. Tears welled in her eyes. They've ruined me, she whispered. Even if I leave, people will spit when they see me. Ethan slammed his fist on the table. No. They won't ruin you. If they want war, then war they'll have. But we won't fight with lies, we'll fight with truth. Chloe leaned forward, cautious. Ethan, what are you planning? He looked around the table, at Mara, at Sam, at Mrs. Gloria, at every trembling but loyal face. His voice was steady, sharp, unbreakable. We expose them. All of them. Every bribe, every crime, every dirty deal they've hidden. If they want to drag Mara through the mud, we'll drag their secrets into the light. The room went still. Mara's breath caught. But how? They're powerful. They own everything. Ethan's lips curved into a grim smile. Not everything. Not the truth. And not us. He pushed back his chair, his shadow long in the morning light. Tonight we start. By the time the sun sets again, the world will know who the real thieves are. The staff looked at one another, torn between fear and hope. Mara's heart pounded. For the first time, she wasn't just a maid caught in a storm. She was at the center of a battle bigger than herself. One that could either destroy her forever, or change her life in ways she had never dreamed. And outside the mansion gates, a sleek black car pulled up. Inside sat a man in a tailored suit, phone pressed to his ear. His words were calm but deadly. Begin phase 2. If Ethan won't kneel, we'll make him bleed. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. If you're ready to see this war explode, hit like, tap subscribe and turn on notifications. The black car slid away into the fog like a shadow leaving a house. Inside the car, the suited man spoke into his phone in a calm voice that made the words sound like knives. Phase 2 starts now. Release the statements. Activate the regulators. Move the crowd. And, most important, take the girl away. He hung up. His eyes were cold as winter. By noon, the world outside the mansion felt different. The news feeds had already started the next wave. Headlines popped up with new angles. SEC opens inquiry into coal enterprises. Insider trading allegations surface after mansion scandal. Protesters demand answers. The investors' lawyers had quietly filed papers overnight. A law firm with a big silver logo had announced a routine inquiry. The courthouse calls were made. People who looked like they belonged in boardrooms and courtrooms began to move. Ethan read the messages on his phone and felt a hard weight drop into his chest. Chloe stood beside him, face pale but steady. She had been awake all night. They started the legal part, she said. They've got enough clout to make regulators act fast. If they get a temporary freeze on accounts or assets, it won't matter how much truth we bring forward. We won't have the means to defend ourselves. Her hands shook just a little. Then we move faster, Ethan said. His voice was low and steady like a drum. We prepare all our files. Legal, financial, everything. Call our counsel. Lock down servers with offline backups. We need proof so thick it stops a truck. He looked at Mara. And we protect this house and everyone in it. For a few hours, the house turned into a war room. People moved like ants with a plan. Chloe called the company lawyer who told them to gather accounting records, emails, flight logs, anything that could prove Ethan's innocence. The IT team worked like magicians, copying servers to secure drives and making lists of all transfers. Mrs. Gloria organized the staff into teams, who would watch the gate, who would stay with Mara, who would keep the kitchen running and keep people calm. In the middle of it all, Mara felt small and loud. She helped where she could, handing files, making tea, holding a steady look when frightened faces surfaced. Sam was at her side like a shadow. He rubbed the back of her hand and gave her a quick smile that said, "We'll get through this." For a little while, those quiet small acts were like candles against the storm. They did not stop the waves, but they made the dark less scary. Then the first van arrived. At the iron gates, men in high-visibility vests and loud voices formed a line. A loudspeaker announced the name of a group, something with a serious-sounding name that promised honesty and accountability. Posters waved, "Transparency now." The hired crowd pushed forward, phones up, shouting words the press loved. It was loud and angry by design. A few neighbors joined, some curious, some swept up. The camera crews arrived, their lenses hungry. Ethan walked to the gate and stood before the cameras, his face clean and fierce from too little sleep. He spoke into the microphones with a calm that had fire under it. This house has nothing to hide. We will cooperate with any lawful inquiry. But this house will not be the place of lies. We will fight every false claim with the truth. His voice echoed down the street. Some people cheered. Some returned to their homes. Others shouted back. Then black SUVs and a vehicle marked with government letters arrived. Sharp lines, official colors. Men and women in suits stepped out and showed badges. Securities and Exchange Commission, one of them said, his voice steady and official. We are here to execute a search and seizure warrant. We need access to all electronic records and servers. Chloe's face went white. They can do this? She whispered. Yes, Ethan said. If the warrant is proper, we must cooperate. But we have our counsel. Tell them to come now. He opened the gate for the team with a steady hand. The SEC agents walked through, their shoes clicking on the stone, their eyes professional and uninterested in the drama. While the legal people moved through offices and scratched notes, the noise outside grew. Protesters chanted. A TV van set up. Bloggers whispered into phones. Cameras pointed into the mansion like hungry birds. Inside the house, Mr. Klein and the IT team showed the SEC agents the server room. Agents photographed racks and thumbed through hard drives. They moved with the air of people doing a job some other man had given them. Chloe and Ethan stood close, watching. Their lawyers argued about procedure and chain of custody and what records the agency could take under the warrant. The team moved carefully, but each crate the agents took felt like a small victory for the people who wanted Ethan out. In the servant quarters, Mrs. Gloria kept the staff calm with low words. "Focus," she told them. "We will be seen. Keep the doors locked. Keep the children away." The staff obeyed like a family. That is when the smaller, quieter storm arrived, a hostage of shame. A man wearing a delivery uniform walked up to the gate carrying a plain cardboard box. He claimed he had a package for the house. The guards, worn and busy, asked for ID. The driver showed a badge that looked real. The man's eyes flicked toward the staff quarters. He smiled in a small, empty way. Mrs. Gloria did not like the look in his eyes. "Hold the package," she said, voice small but sure. "We will check it in the open with cameras." The man's smile did not reach his eyes. He stood waiting. No one noticed the second van yet. It was quiet and clean and parked 2 streets away. A man inside the van spoke into an earpiece. "Now." He hung up. 2 masked figures slipped from the van and moved up the garden path like shadows with purpose. At the gate, the delivery man suddenly shoved the box toward the servant door and sprinted. The guards shouted. The man ran. Sam, quick and brave, moved to stop him. He tried to grab the package. The man shoved Sam hard. Sam stumbled, cursing. The delivery man disappeared into the crowd, his face twisting into the mask of a man who had practiced this move. Then, from the side, the 2 masked figures struck. They were fast, trained, and cruel. One grabbed Sam from behind and slammed a hand over his mouth. The other dashed into the servant quarters. "Get down," someone shouted. Mara froze, heart pounding. Her feet felt glued to the floor. She had helped with files, held tea, stood tall when the world looked bleak, but now the real horror stepped into the room. She heard a shout and a scuffle. She turned and saw a hand, gloved, rough, clamp onto Mrs. Gloria's arm. Another hand reached for Mara. "No." Sam tried to scream, but a hand silenced him. He kicked and twisted. The masked men were strong. In seconds they had grabbed whoever they could reach. One of them yanked Mara forward, pulling her to the front door. Sam lunged and the man struck him hard. He fell against the stair, gasping. Mara struggled. "Let me go," she cried. Her voice was small like a thin thread, but it snapped with terror. Ethan, who had been speaking with an SEC agent, heard the commotion. He turned, eyes wide, and sprinted toward the door. He saw the masked men dragging Mara. He pushed past a camera crew, past lawyers, past officers. "Stop them," he shouted. A protester blocked his path, waving a sign and shouting. The crowd surged forward like a living wave. Security tried to stop Ethan, worried about the agents and the legal situation. Lieutenant Harper grabbed at the nearest man, but in the chaos it was too late. A masked man shoved Mara into a black van waiting near the curb. The sliding door slammed. Her shoe caught on the step. She kicked, trying to free herself. Sam, bleeding slightly from a blow to his lip, scrambled to pull at the door, nails scraping the metal. Ethan reached the van, pounding on its side, shouting his name. Phones filmed, people screamed, officers shouted. The van's engine roared. The driver slammed on the gas. Tires screamed. The van sped away, a black blur swallowed by the city. Mara's scarf fluttered like a small bird caught and taken. The crowd froze. For a second no one moved. Then a cry rose, Sam's cry for Mara, a raw sound that broke the night. Ethan's shoes skidded on the pavement as he ran after the van, but he could not catch it. The protesters parted and watched the man they had been shouting at sprint after the black blur. DC agents stood shocked, their mission suddenly different. A man who had been searching servers now had to decide whether to chase a van. Chloe screamed at the guards, furious. Mrs. Gloria fell to her knees, hands on her head. Lieutenant Harper barked into her radio, her voice very small and scared. "Unit, van with plate." She trailed off as the license plate blurred in the distance. Ethan stopped, chest heaving, eyes burning with a hate that felt like fire. He had fought intruders with crowbars and knives. He had defended his home. But this felt worse because it took someone he had vowed to protect. He turned to the staff, voice shaking. "Call the police. Call 911. Tell them everything. Tell them the van, the time, every detail. Someone filmed the plate. Follow the route." His voice was a command and a prayer. Sam cried out again, louder this time. "Mara," he shouted, voice breaking. He slammed his fists into the pavement. "They can't take her. They can't?" He fell forward, burying his face in his hands. Chloe's phone buzzed. Another headline was already writing itself in the hidden corners of the web. "Maid kidnapped from billionaire's mansion." The words hit like a new blow. Outside, the black van became a dot and then a line on the road. Inside it, Mara pressed her hands to the cold metal wall, heart racing, breath coming fast. The masked men sat across from her, faces unreadable. One of them leaned close, voice low and flat. "Quiet," he said. "You're not the story. You're the tool." Mara swallowed. She did not understand everything, but she knew they wanted to use her. She pressed her eyes closed as if closing them could make the world less loud. She thought of her mother's cough, of Ruth's gentle voice, of the mango tree in her old yard. She repeated her mother's favorite hymn under her breath. Small words, big hope. Back at the mansion, Ethan's legs carried him until they trembled. He had fought men in his home before, but this felt like losing air. He turned to the SEC agents who were trying to decide whether to continue their legal work or pursue the van. "You have to help me," he said. "She's inside that van. You can't ignore a kidnapping because of a warrant." The agent looked at him, torn. "We have a legal duty here," she said. "But," she swallowed. "Call 911. We'll call the local units and coordinate. We'll give you the van description and work with them." Ethan's face crumpled and hardened at the same time. "Do it now," he said. "We can't lose her." As the SEC agents moved to redirect resources and the police were called in, the staff gathered in the foyer, hands knotted together. Mrs. Gloria prayed out loud, her voice steady and fierce. Sam paced like a wild thing, then collapsed into a chair. Chloe dialed numbers until her fingers hurt. Ethan stared down the road where the van had disappeared until his eyes stung. Outside, the city moved on. Cars flowed. People went about their errands. But in that small, mighty house, everything had changed. A maid had been taken. A war that started with a photo had turned into something darker, something that would not be solved with statements or servers alone. And as the sun began to dip, painting the sky with bruised colors, a new message popped up on Ethan's phone from an unknown number. "You should have chosen safety. Now we choose the price." The message glowed on Ethan's phone like a curse. "You should have chosen safety. Country in the comments. Now we choose the price." His hands trembled, not from fear but from rage. He stared at the words until the letters blurred. Then he lifted his eyes, blazing, and said to Chloe, "Trace it." Chloe's fingers flew over her backup laptop. Already on it. They used a burner number bouncing off multiple towers. "It's masked but," she frowned. "Not perfect." They slipped. "I'll get a location radius." Sam paced the foyer like a caged lion, his lips swollen from the earlier fight. "We can't just wait. Mara's out there with those animals. What if—" His voice broke. He slammed his fist against the wall. "We should have protected her." Mrs. Gloria caught his arm. "Son, listen. Crying won't save her. Panic won't save her. We need wisdom." Her voice was steady, the way rivers carve valleys, slow but unstoppable. The less extreme calm came in those minutes. Officers still searched the grounds. The staff whispered prayers. The gardener pressed a cloth to Sam's lip. Chloe's computer pinged with faint progress. For a short while, hope returned. Maybe they would find Mara, maybe the system would work, maybe truth would win. Then another extreme strike came. A news channel blared from a reporter standing just outside the gates. "Breaking. Maid linked to alleged insider scandal disappears. Rumors swirl that she's being hidden to cover evidence." The words fell like a bomb. Mara wasn't just kidnapped now. The investors had twisted her absence into another weapon, painting her as an accomplice, not a victim. "Those devils," Chloe hissed. "They're turning her into the villain." Sam shouted, "She's the victim." His voice cracked, full of helpless fire. Ethan's jaw locked. He stepped outside, ignoring the cameras, and shouted questions. He raised his voice for the world. "Mara is innocent. She is not missing because she ran. She was kidnapped. If any of you truly care about justice, then turn your cameras to the streets and help us find her. Stop feeding lies." The cameras kept rolling. Some reporters softened. Others twisted his words into more fuel. The crowd buzzed, divided. But Ethan's voice carried, strong and unshaken. Back inside, Chloe's screen pinged again. "Got it," she whispered. "Ping radius places the signal somewhere near the docks. Abandoned warehouses." Ethan grabbed his coat. "I'm going." Lieutenant Harper stepped in front of him. "Not alone, you're not. If this is connected to the investors, these aren't common thugs. They're trained, funded, and protected. You'll walk into an ambush. Then take me there with your team," Ethan said. "But I'm not sitting here while they have her." His voice cracked on the last word. Sam stood up. "I'm coming too." "No," Ethan said firmly. "You stay here with Mrs. Gloria. If anything happens here, you protect the house." That's an order. Sam's fists clenched, but Mrs. Gloria touched his shoulder. Sometimes bravery means staying, not going, she whispered. Reluctantly, Sam nodded, tears hot in his eyes. Within the hour, 2 black SUVs pulled from the mansion gates, Lieutenant Harper, her officers Ethan and Chloe inside. The city blurred past, streets flashing under the golden sunset. Ethan's heart pounded with every mile closer to the docks. Meanwhile, inside a cold, dim warehouse, Mara sat on the floor with her wrists tied. The masked men who dragged her there stood by the door, silent. A taller man in a suit stepped forward, the same one from the black car earlier. His voice was smooth but his eyes cut like glass. "You are the storm that broke his empire," he said softly. "And the tool we'll use to bury him." Mara lifted her chin despite the fear shaking her bones. "I'm just a maid," she whispered. The man crouched, his smile thin. "Not anymore. To the world, you are the girl in the billionaire's bed. And tomorrow you'll be the girl who confessed." Mara's eyes widened. Confessed. He held up a tablet. On it played a video draft, grainy, edited, her face blurred into lies. A voice that wasn't hers spoke over her image. "Yes, Ethan gave me the watch. Yes, I helped him hide money. Yes, we were lovers." Mara's stomach turned cold. "That's a lie," she cried. The man's smile widened. "Of course. But lies spread faster than truth. And when he sees it, he'll know what happens when you defy us." Mara's heart pounded. She prayed silently, her mother's hymn trembling on her lips. Back in the SUV, Chloe's screen beeped again. Signal locked. "Docks. Building number 7, she said. Lieutenant Harper nodded, speaking into her radio. "All units, converge." Ethan's hands gripped the seat, knuckles white. His mind saw only one thing: Mara, tied, afraid, and used as a pawn. Rage and fear warred inside him, but love, though he hadn't said the word yet, was louder. As the SUVs turned onto the dark road leading to the docks, the skyline glowed with harsh orange. The sea smelled of rust and salt. Shadows moved among the warehouses. And from inside building number 7, Mara heard the sound of engines drawing near. Her eyes widened. Hope flickered. She whispered to herself, "Please, let it be him." Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. If you're still hooked, smash like, subscribe and turn on the bell. The warehouses loomed like giants in the dusk, their rusted walls hiding secrets older than truth. SUV engines rumbled low as Lieutenant Harper's convoy pulled up behind stacks of shipping containers. Officers fanned out silently, weapons drawn. Ethan stepped out, his breath clouding in the cool night air. His fists clenched at his sides. "Stay back until we secure it," Harper warned. But Ethan's eyes burned. "They have Mara. I'm not waiting." Chloe touched his arm. "Ethan, please. Don't rush in blind. They want you angry. Think." He exhaled hard. The rage didn't leave, but it folded into focus. "Fine. But if they lay a hand on her again, nothing will hold me." Inside Warehouse 7, Mara sat tied to a chair, a single hanging bulb above her. The suited man from the black car circled her slowly, a predator with polished shoes. "Do you hear that?" he murmured. "Engines. Boots. Your boss came for you." Mara's heart leapt. "Ethan." The man smiled coldly. "But he will not leave with you. Tonight he will kneel." The less extreme calm came in Mara's courage. She lifted her chin, even with fear burning in her chest. "He'll never kneel to you," she whispered. "He kneels only to God." The man's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, then hardened. He gestured to his men. "Set the cameras. If he won't kneel, we'll make the world believe he did." Outside, Harper gave hand signals. Officers moved like shadows, surrounding the building. Ethan's heart thundered. He strained to hear through the walls. Then, Mara's voice, faint but defiant. "He kneels only to God." Ethan froze. His chest tightened. She was alive. "Now," Harper mouthed. Officers burst through the side doors with shouts. Gunlights swept the darkness. Men in black suits drew weapons. Chaos erupted. Shots cracked. Sparks flew as bullets hit steel. Ethan didn't wait. He charged straight through the front, eyes locked on Mara. "Mara." She jerked her head up. "Ethan." The suited man yanked her chair back, pressing a pistol to her temple. "One more step and she dies." The world froze. Officers held their fire. Harper raised her hand, signaling a halt. Ethan stopped, chest heaving, eyes locked on Mara's tear-streaked face. "Let her go," Ethan growled. The man's voice was smooth, cruel. "On your knees, Cole. Tell the cameras you're guilty. Say it and she lives." Refuse and she dies before your eyes. Mara shook her head desperately. Don't do it. Ethan, don't. His eyes softened as they met hers. Then hardened again as he looked at the man. Slowly, Ethan bent one knee then the other, lowering himself to the cold concrete floor. Gasps filled the warehouse. Officers, enemies, even Mara herself. The suited man's smile widened. Yes. Kneel. Confess. Ethan's voice was steady as iron. I kneel, but not to you. In one motion, he grabbed the loose crowbar lying on the ground from an earlier scuffle, thrown there by fate or providence, and hurled it across the room. It struck the light, shattering the bulb, plunging the warehouse into darkness. Gunfire erupted. Officers shouted. Flashes lit the chaos. Ethan lunged forward in the dark, slamming into the suited man. The pistol fired once, the shot echoing, but Mara was unharmed. She toppled sideways in her chair as the man fell back. Ethan's fists hammered him with all the fury of a man who had lost too much already. Lieutenant Harper's flashlight beam cut through the smoke. Officers surged in, tackling the remaining men. Handcuffs clicked. Shouts turned to groans. The warehouse filled with the smell of sweat, gunpowder, and victory. Ethan tore the ropes from Mara's wrists. She collapsed against him, sobbing. I thought I'd never see you again. He held her close, his arms like a fortress. I would have burned the city to find you, he whispered. His voice broke on the words. The suited man, bloody and pinned, spat on the floor. This isn't over. The board will crush you. Money always wins. Ethan stood, pulling Mara gently to her feet. His voice was thunder. No. Truth wins. And tonight, the world will see who you are. Harper held up a recovered drive, yanked from the enemy's equipment. They were staging false videos, she said. We'll use this to expose them. The tide turns now. Outside, sirens wailed as more units arrived. The staff who had come in the second convoy waited by the SUVs, weeping with relief as they saw Mara walk out under Ethan's arm. Sam ran forward, hugging her so tight she squeaked. Mrs. Gloria fell to her knees, whispering thanks to heaven. The less extreme calm wrapped the night. Mara drank water, wrapped in a blanket. Officers catalogued evidence. The enemy was loaded into vans. For the first time in days, hope felt real. But the extreme finish, the real shock, waited at the mansion. When they returned, battered but alive, Chloe's phone buzzed with an email alert. She opened it, eyes widening. Ethan, you need to see this. It was a press release from the board. Effective immediately, Linda Cole has been appointed interim CEO of Cole Enterprises. Attached was a photo of Ms. Linda, smiling, free, her charges mysteriously vanished. Mara's breath caught. Ethan's jaw clenched. Harper muttered under her breath. They still move their pieces, Chloe said grimly. The war isn't over. Ethan looked at Mara, then at his staff, his family. His eyes burned with new fire. Then we take the fight to them. And for the first time, Mara didn't feel like just a maid. She felt like part of something larger. A battle not just for Ethan's empire, but for truth itself. The war wasn't over. But together they would win it. Where are you watching from? Tell me your city or country in the comments. If you've followed this journey, smash like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The story may close here, but every ending is a seed for the next beginning. Would you like me to write the epilogue of this tale? What happens after the war?